Hey, it's the Nerdy Sports Fan, and we're talking NFL Draft these weeks leading up to it. Last week we did the AFC East and NFC East, and we're continuing that theme. We're into the AFC West, and we're going to the Denver Broncos. Now, we're using the DraftNetwork.com's mock draft simulation, and I'm going up against their predictive board to try to get a good gauge of the possibilities out there for certain picks. Do it a few times and you'll be able to see that it's not giving you the same options every bet, which is smart because, well, you know, GMs are human beings and they lie a lot this time of year. So you're not going to have the same exact player available that you might think you would have available. And that's, you know, the truth of the draft. So it's a very good tool for this. Now the Broncos, their big needs, I would have said quarterback, but they seem to really like Joe Flacco for some stupid reason. And they're very much a win now, always organization. They don't like the idea of a rebuild. So that's where they're at right now. But the best position at number 10 that I think they can upgrade would be linebacker. Now, a lot of people are going to want Devin White to be available at this position. The likelihood of that's pretty slim. It's possible, but he'd have to get past the Tampa Bay Bucks, and I'm not really sure he will. So what they will have available is another very talented linebacker in Devin Bush. Out of Michigan, he did really well. Mind you, he was behind a talented front that included Rashawn Gary, but Devin Bush is stout. And adding him to a linebacker core that has essentially leftover parts would be very good. Now, Devin Bush or Devin White, whoever's available at that position, you add that to a defense that already has Chubb from last year and Von Miller from obviously years prior. But now all of a sudden this defense looks very tough. Could they improve the defensive tackle position? Sure. But the top end defensive tackles are going to be gone. The top end linebackers are at least going to have one left. So Bush is my pick at this position because that was the best that was available for positions of need that can be a big impact right away, which is what you want out of the first round. Now, coming into the second round, pick number 41, also a need position, I went with Chris Lindstrom, guard out of Boston College. Now, the Broncos' offensive line left a lot to be desired last year. They could use upgrades across the board. They obviously went with Miami's free agent tackle to upgrade their left tackle position. Hopefully that works out for them. I'm not quite sure it will be a world beater, but it's going to be an upgrade. I mean, their offensive line was atrocious. And they lost Matt Paradis, their best offensive lineman in free agency. Excuse me. So going with guard Chris Lindstrom is smart here. It upgrades a desperately weak position on this team, giving Joe Flacco relief from pressure up the middle is going to be important. He doesn't move, okay? Obviously, they replaced him with Lamar Jackson, a guy who moves really well in Baltimore. So, yeah, doing what you can to put a Band-Aid over Joe Flacco's weaknesses will be very good for this offense. So strengthening the middle of that D after the departure, middle of the O-line after the departure of Matt Paradis is important. Pick number 71, I went with Charles Omenihu. Again, really hope I'm pronouncing that properly. Defensive tackle out of Texas. Middle of the D-line was sorry and has been since a few years ago. They've been trying to fill voids, and it's not really working. Okay, they lost the middle of the defensive line to Jacksonville a couple of years ago. He's available, so if they want to go out and try and rehash the defensive front that won them a Super Bowl, yeah, I mean they can. But going through the draft is probably smarter for long term. So going with Charles Omenihu at this position It's not the best defensive tackle available, but you need other positions filled too. So after Chris Lindstrom and Devin Bush are picked up for this defense, Omenihu, it would be still a huge upgrade to the middle of the defensive line, and great benefit to this team moving forward. That's it for the top 100 picks for the Broncos. After top 100, you tend to get nothing but depth and special teams help. So, trying to draft past that and predict those positions is kind of useless. The information that they're using in the draft rooms to predict what other teams are doing is no better than what you or I would have access to. But really, it's about what positions they think fit their scheme really well, or can fit depth positions, or do well on special teams. So after picks in the top 100, kind of almost doesn't matter or makes sense to try and predict. But I think the Broncos can do well in this draft. I'm not sure they're going to. They've had one good draft under this regime, and it might have been a fluke. I'm sorry, guys. I just don't think this team has the right answers in the front office going forward.